What's up, everybody? It's Quinton from Hunters of Lights, and today we've got Leigh Benson on, and we are talking the business of photography. Yeah, hi Leigh, it's
Yeah.
good to have you on here.
Oh, very excited to be here.
Yeah, with along with all of our technical issues, etc. You losing phones, me clearly losing Facebook. So we can't actually
It's
get
been
this
a
live stream.
day.
I know, it's crazy, hey? It's my first meeting started this morning at 7. So
Yeah.
it's just been nonstop. But yeah, so I think it's quite cool that we're doing these Q&As with more of a businessy kind of slant. I think there's a lot of photographers that are not sure about the ins and outs.
Yeah.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that there's a lot of photographers who don't run their business like a business. It's
very true.
Have camera, will travel, and oh, I got no money left. And that's it's sad to see when people get to a point where they have to sell gear because they're just not pricing it correctly, or they've got the wrong target market, etc. So I'm really keen to hear what you've got to say. We've
Awesome.
just got to imagine that there's loads of people watching the stream. And there's lots of questions coming through, and I'm just going to pass them on as I get them.
Go for it.
so yeah, I mean, I think over to you. Maybe what we should say is what have you been doing during lockdown? Let's start off with that.
Sure. So I was very, very blessed at the beginning of the year. I had a really good first quarter. So the first 3 weeks of lockdown, I was still editing flat out. It was no different to a normal time period for me, other than I wasn't actively shooting.
Yeah.
And then once that was all done and all my work delivered, I put the downtime into relooking my website, my marketing material for the rest of the year. I kind of thought, well, now's the time to do it. And I had some downtime, but then it was sort of, well, if I'm not marketing now, I'm going to have no work when things go back to normal. So, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people kind of, oh my God, there's a crisis, there's a lockdown, shut down, forget about everything. And it's actually in the downtime, which is the perfect time to get your marketing in order. So I like to think I was decently productive. We'll see if it pays off.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember doing a presentation, probably like the third one that we did, where I went through, revisiting your business, revising the things and refreshing and all of those things. And it's amazing how important that is. And I mean, I'm hoping that everyone watched that and everyone did exactly that, because it really is the best time to do it. What are the old images? When was the last time you updated your portfolio, etc. It's so important, because we get busy and we shoot and edit and sometimes complain and then shoot and edit and oh, hold on, marketing, where oh yeah, and your Instagram is 4 months old and you don't even recognize it anymore. And it's
true,
a problem, it's a problem. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely going to be cool to hear what what you've got to say, and hopefully it will benefit the guys watching.
Oh yeah, I hope so too. So where should I start? A little bit about me.
Yeah, let's do that, because it's quite an intricate history that you've got going there.
Yeah. So my history actually even started before what I sent to you for the Facebook page. So when I was little, I was about 3 years old. I actually have the camera around somewhere. My granddad had this old Kodak Instamatic. It didn't even work anymore.
Was it
but
those
it was
those flat ones?
No, it was a sort of the pre 35mm happy snappy kind of clicky ones. But it took one of those old square film.
Oh wow.
And I don't know for how long it hadn't worked, but it was given to me as a gift, and I would wander around the house and snap with this little camera. And just that sound of the clicking of the shutter and all of that, it kind of stuck with me. Yeah, exactly. It was like a one click. And I kind of, that was sort of always in the back of my mind. And during high school, I did art, but we didn't really have a camera club or anything like that. I think they introduced the camera club at my high school in, I think, my standard 9 year.
Yeah.
But I painted and I drew all throughout high school, and fine art, well, art was one of my matric subjects. And I'd applied to Rhodes University to do journalism, and because I was also quite good at English, and I had all these grand designs of being a sports photographer.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the guys on the group will remember Dave Dutoit. So
yeah.
my dad introduced me to Dave at a cricket match years ago. And I'd always I'd loved his work. I'd followed his work, and then I was very blessed to be able to work with him when we were both at Gallo together. But I thought, hey, I'm going to become a sports photographer and a sports journalist, and that's what I'm going to do. And then at the last minute, I changed my mind and I applied for fine arts instead. And my dad's exact words to me were, best you pick a major you can make some money out of. Because my dad's in construction, so totally different sort of field. And there I was, this arty kid going off to now study fine art. And we started photography in my first term. And back then in my first year, you did a term of painting, term of graphics, a term of sculpture, and then a term of photography. And the photography was just, I was hooked.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I thought, okay, like, learn to process my own film, learn to shoot black and white and color on film, processed all of it myself. And gradually, sort of as time went on, I thought, okay, well, I was tossing between graphics and photography, and photography won out over graphics, which was, back then, it was very sort of the more old school traditional graphics. It was lino cuts and litho printing and all of that. So
etchings and etc.
Yeah, exactly. So photography won out, and 4 years later, graduated with my fine art degree, and then had no idea what I was going to do.
Then the real world is there
like
going,
a lot of
now.
You kind of think like, oh, well, this was all very well and good. And I used to feel very sorry for all my friends who had like 9 exams at the end of the year, and I wrote 1 6-hour theory paper and submitted my thesis, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it was, quite an adjustment. I came back to Joburg. I'm Joburg born and bred, with 4 years in Grahamstown. And I did a little bit of freelancing through my dad's contacts in his construction industry. I did some architecture photography, but back then, coming out of varsity, it was the first time I'd actually shot digital, and I had no idea what I was doing. Digital was just coming in at that point. And how these people actually paid me for my work is beyond me, but they did. They were very kind enough to let me photograph some houses for them. And randomly, when you could still get a job by looking in the Star newspaper in the classified section, remember those good old days?
A job that didn't involve hold on, let's move on.
We won't go there. So I saw a job advertised for a photographer for a family portrait studio. And I kind of thought, well, what the hell's a family portrait studio? I didn't even know that such things existed. It was never something that we did when we were kids growing up. So off I went. I took what limited portfolio I had, and they sort of hired me as a junior photographer. And it was at a studio. They were based in Rivonia, and it was right in that trend of dark blue jeans, white t-shirts. Yeah. Everything gets edited into black and white except for your blue jeans. Yeah, it was,
Sure.
Those things
those were the days, hey? Those were the
days. Selective color was a thing. And but funnily enough, that's where I got my start in photography. So 2 family portrait studios later, I moved a bit closer to home. I lived on the West Rand at the time, and I just wanted to look for something closer to home. So I worked for 2 studios, and then the recession hit in 2008. And I was sort of in the process of, I was then the studio manager at the second studio, and my bosses had gone, they'd sort of opened another branch elsewhere in the country and had then had to move back to Joburg, and they just couldn't afford to keep myself and the other photographers on as paid employees. So we were retrenched. And so this was 2009. We held out for as long as we could, and then I just bought my house. So I now had a brand new bond to pay with zero income. And I was like, well, crap, well, now what do I do? So went to the bank, approached them for a business loan, and they just laughed at me and said, try again in a few years. Like,
yeah, try again when you've got a real job.
Yeah, a real job. And that's how I ended up at Gallo. So a friend of mine was there at the time. She was in their content department, and they were looking for a picture researcher, specifically in the build-up to the 2010 World Cup. So I started there as a picture researcher. It was supposed to be a short-term contract, and I ended up being there for 6 years. So what was supposed to be 6 months turned into 6 years. And I sort of I took a bit of a different direction. I was on the sales side of the business. So I started as picture researcher, moved to sales account executive, and then eventually was media sales manager before I left. And it was dealing with the major publishers and obviously all the smaller ones in the country. I used to handle magazine publishers, book publishers, the sort of the online guys as well. And then we had our more agency creative salespeople who were a separate department for us. And that's, still shooting on the side all through all that time.
Yeah.
And and then in sort of end of 2015, 2016, I'd sort of decided that maybe now was time to go back to photography.
Maybe now the bank would give you a loan for being a photographer on your own and not,
I could, fingers crossed. And I'd already got as far as I wanted to in corporate. Media sales manager was kind of the top of where I really wanted to be. And I thought, now's the time. If I'm going to do it, now's the time to do it. So resigned midway through 2016, and I helped a friend who's based in Cape Town start up her own image agency for 6 months. And so 1st of July 2017, Leigh Benson Photography was officially born, even though I'd been shooting under that brand for 10 years by that point, just not as an official company. So it was, quite a ride.
Absolutely, it's a long and intricate and but that's the way that it works, and I think it also sort of builds who you are. The different directions, the different skills that you pick up. It informs who you are as a photographer and how you handle your business and your clients. So I think that kind of thing is quite important, because if you, let's say I'm going to be slayed for this, but let's say you're an accountant and you hate your job, it sucks, and you're just going to start being a photographer, and you start and you go. There's no sort of assisting another photographer and seeing how it goes, and you're just in straight and you're doing your thing. And I think a lot of times people that are in that sort of position reach that point where it's like, well, hold on, this is hard work. Where's all the money that I'm supposed to be earning? I was just going to shoot one wedding a month and I'm going to be smiling. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. So I think it's, for me, the experience of going from working in different areas, different levels, really, really does benefit everyone as far as photography is concerned.
Yeah, and it was so strange. So back when we were doing the first 2 studios I worked in, obviously then we shot on digital. In fact, at the first studio, it was when they first released the Canon 5D. So we had a 5D and we had a 20D, and I shot on a 20D. And if you're Canon shooters, you'll know, the 20D didn't even shoot RAW back then. It was a high-res JPEG camera and that was it. But we built the studio business on exactly those cameras, and we only sold printed images. There was no such thing as shoot and burn. It just didn't exist in those days. If my previous bosses can correct me if I'm wrong, but when the recession hit, we were averaging 8,000 Rand in sales. That was our sales average, because we sold printed artwork. You came in, you bought albums, you bought wall art, you bought big printed perspexes. We only then started offering CDs, because CDs were then like the new thing, but you only got a CD if you purchased a framed item. So 6 years later, after leaving Gallo, And even though I'd been in the image licensing business, commercial image licensing is very different to licensing images and shooting for individuals.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of been doing it myself, and while I was at Gallo, still shooting personal stuff. I admittedly did myself a disservice by giving family and friend pricing because I wasn't doing it full time. I had undercut myself, but this is how we learn.
Exactly.
So of course, in my mind, I was like, okay, cool. So now I'm starting my studio again, and I'm gonna sell printed artwork like I used to, because that's what I was used to selling. I could sit in a sales room, and everything was an in-person sales session. And I kind of did a bit of market research in the 6 months leading to the January 2017, and I was like, but what is this digital images on us? Like, why is everyone giving away their entire shoot of images? How are you people making money? It made no sense to me. So I then thought, okay, well, let me just get in touch with a couple of photographers and see, you know, what's the going rate for XYZ. And let me tell you, we're a nasty bunch. I had doors slammed in my face. No one was prepared to help me. And I was like, at first my ego took a bit of a beating because I was like, hang on, I've been in the industry for 10 years already. And it's not like I don't know what I'm doing. But it was just, it's so difficult to find that balance of, you know, people looking for desperately, how do I do this? And you've put so much into your own business that it's hard to give away that knowledge. And I think that's where it comes from. You know,
it's a very fine line where, you know, you get guys that and that I've spoken to recently who've been in the industry forever. I'm not going to say dinosaur, but where they are like livid with people giving away all their knowledge and that kind of thing. You know, that's going to run you out of business. But you know, at the same time, and I mean, it's not my sort of quote or whatever, but at the same time, you know, if you're a creative person, you really should be reinventing yourself as you go anyway. You know, the at the end of the day, the style and the personality and those sorts of things and the passion that you have. Well, I hate it when photographers say passion, but you know, those things, those are the things that you can't, no one can take away from you. You know, so, and I really do think that if there's, and it doesn't have to be, here we go, whatever you want, I'll answer it, no problem. Workshops are great, you know, pay someone to teach you. Don't ask for, you know, for it for nothing. But you know, if you teach people, the whole industry just becomes better, and more capable. And also then people will stop shooting family portraits with all the images on CD and a coffee table photo book and a Ferrari drive thrown in for $200. You know, because they know that's not gonna work, you know.
No. And I think that's the big mistake that so many people make starting out, and it's probably a good starting point of where we can kick off, like actually running your photography business like a business. And this was something that, I mean, I'm very thankful for the 6 years that I was at Gallo. Having that business side of things, I think, gave me a step up when I did launch my own brand, because I was very used to setting sales targets. I would have to look at the sales targets for my whole team for the quarter, the month, the year, compared to 3 years previously, look at current international trends for stock photography and editorial photography. So all of that kind of gave me a step up. And the biggest thing for me was so many people don't actually understand their cost of doing business. And if you don't know your cost of doing business, and I saw, I think it was Milani's Q&M that you did, where she said in her workshops that she does, in her business workshops, where, you know, the question is, well, how do I price myself? And the answer to that is, how long is a piece of string? And that's exactly my approach as well, because it's different for everybody. So what I would suggest, and it's something that I really put a lot of time and effort into, and I do this annually for myself, sometimes even on a 6-month basis, is I'll look at all my suppliers, and I'll look at all the products that I offer, and I'll look at all the payments that need to come out of my account. and it's literally down to like, how often do I buy cappuccinos for a client at a client meeting? Because it's all of those things that add up, and suddenly you think, okay, awesome, I'm charging, let's use the 350 Rand photographer. Okay, I'm charging 350 Rand for a shoot. Awesome. But you're paying 35 Rand for one cappuccino at your meeting. So you've already lost 10% of your shoot on one coffee.
Yeah. And you haven't even thought about the fact that this is not the shoot, this is the meeting. I assume you've gone there to the meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You've traveled there, traveled back. Have you added that? No. Okay. Next.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. So so that's what I would really encourage. Like, if you're starting out, or if you have started and you're starting to wonder, like, hang on, this isn't working like the way I thought it would, is cost of doing business and cost of goods are the two most important factors that you need to consider. And a lot of us I trade as a sole proprietor. So for me, my business and my personal are very much interlinked. And that's also where a lot of photographers go wrong. So if you are trading as a sole prop, and I'll get to it in a little bit more detail, separate your bank accounts. It is the single most important thing that you will do for your business, is separating out those accounts. Because when you then start seeing, no, go for it. Yeah.
There's another one. Create another account. In every shoot that you have, you take a percentage, let's call it 10, because it sounds nice and round. 10% of that shoot goes into that account straight away, and you cannot take it out. You cannot take it out.
Yeah.
Because in 6 months or a year's time, when you need a new XYZ, oh, here's this new, you've got some money put away for that. That's what it's there for. Or if everything falls apart, then you've got something that's completely separate. You know, that's a great tip, but very few people do it. Me too.
So, I mean, what I've done is probably a bit more than what is required for the average person, but I actually have 6 different bank accounts, and
money laundering.
Something like that for myself. So it was also one of the things that I learned sort of quite early is, you know, so and it just got highlighted to me so much in the last couple of months, is how many photographers live hand to mouth, where what comes in goes out straight away. And having come from a corporate background, you know, you've got to be putting money aside. You know, things that are a once-off expense need to be accounted for every month. So how to explain it is, like, my email hosting, I've got to pay that every year. I pay my domain host or my website or whatever. That's an annual payment. But every month I'm putting money aside in an account so that I know that this time next year, when that's up for renewal, I've got the money already set aside. I don't need to worry about it. So I put 1%, and this is actually a really cool trick, and you'll be surprised at how quickly the money builds up. So there's a guy by the name of Mike Michalowicz, I think I'm pronouncing it right, and he has, his whole model is profit first. And the old school way of thinking, and I'm not a profit first professional, but this is just how I've implemented it in my own business, is you take a percentage of whatever you earn, just 1%, and you pop that in a separate bank account, and you literally just let it sit there. You don't touch it. And you just gradually let it build up and build up and build up. And when you've got a little bit of extra, you pop it in there and just let it build and let it build. And that way you're guaranteeing that you're giving yourself just that little bit extra every month. Because how most people see is, you know, your very typical, okay, income less expenses equals profits. But in photography, that's not the case. Generally.
It's not consistent, that's for sure.
No, and that's it. And if you are consistent with putting that aside, so 1% of everything that I earn goes into my profit first account. And then I worked on, then I also transfer 20% of everything straight into account for tax. Because if you get audited by SARS, and as a sole prop, believe me, you get audited every single year, because it's happened to me every single year. You've already put that money aside. You haven't touched it. It's in an account. that if you need to pay SARS anything, and you should, don't not pay SARS, it's there. You've got the money, as you would if your company was paying UIF or PAYE or whatever on your behalf. So those are just two of the things that I committed to doing. Okay, this is what I'm going to set aside, and this is how I'm going to run it.
I've just seen 400 people sign off this prezzo when they heard 20% tax.
I know, we hate them, but we got to do it.
No, but they're looking at this going, what? 20? What? No.
Yeah.
And they're out of here. They don't want to hear the rest of it. But it's the reality. It's the reality.
Yeah.
If you spend all of that money, when it comes time to making those payments, which you have to make, what do? You know, you're in the red.
Yep. And that's it. And that's when my heart broke for so many photographers when COVID hit, because you kind of live like literally like in, out. And then the thought of not earning an income for 2 months, I mean, I was kind of like, crap.
Yeah.
This is not cool. I don't like this at all. Fortunately, my weddings all rescheduled. I didn't have to refund any of my clients. My family portrait clients, they had also rescheduled. And I thought, like, I'm so glad that I've been doing the money work and knowing, okay, so this is what I need to survive. And that's probably the next sort of going point, is even before you've separated out your bank accounts and all of that, is know what you need to survive. So it's very easy to, as a photographer, think of, this is what I need for my photography business. So it's going to be X amount of travel time, and I need to pay for my website, and I need to pay for marketing, and blah, 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 and all of those things. But are you actually taking into account your personal expenses? Because sometimes that kind of gets like shoved aside and almost forgotten about. So that 350 Rand that you are sort of hoping to get from a shoot, if your combined business and personal expenses are 35,000 Rand a month, how many 350 Rand shoots do you need to do? And is that physically possible? And the answer is no.
Yep, absolutely.
You're not going to be able to shoot every day and fill up your calendar every day to cover your costs. So, and that's, it's know your numbers, know your averages, because if you know your averages, you can also plan how many shoots you need to be shooting in order to bring in what you need to cover all your expenses.
Exactly. And you know, as you're saying now about your personal expenses as well, I mean, that's, you know, like your shopping, your fuel, your DSTV, or all of those things. You know, if you're just looking at, you know, shoot 350, well, my camera I paid off last year, so that's cool. I'm making 350 profit. Well, you're not, because you've gone to the meeting, you've got the cappuccino, you've driven there, you've driven back, etc. But now, it's not just, as you say, it's not just about the profit and loss from your shoot. There's a whole other set of expenses that need to come into that.
Yeah. So I think also a lot of people get confused, especially when I'm talking to new photographers, and they're sort of like, what is the cost of goods and what is the cost of doing business? So a cost of goods is anything that you are physically going to need to buy in order to deliver a product to a client. So if I'm delivering an album, that album cost is going to be a cost of goods to me. And I have an international photographer mentor, and she, which I'd love to be able to do this in South Africa, dear Lord, I would, but she teaches a 10% cost of goods. So if your album that you are delivering to your clients costs you 2,000 Rand, your client needs to be paying you 20,000 Rand for that album. Clients, where are you? Because we're waiting.
Yeah. Hold on, I think I hear one knocking at the door now.
They're lining up outside. Got to push them away.
Sorry, I was thinking that you were going to say, you know, add 10% onto that, and I'm going, I'm pretty sure I'd do more than that. But, so you're saying that album would need to be 10% of the fee that you charge them for that album?
Yep. And in our market, that's just not feasible. It really isn't. And I kind of butted heads with a couple of international photographers on this point. And I was like, like we are in such a unique political, socioeconomic, whatever you want to call it, environment, that the only way that you are going to be profitable in this industry, in this market, is costing for yourself. And that's why it's so dangerous to cost according to what Johnny, no offense to all the Johnnies on the group, down the road, the 350 rand photographer, because if you are just looking at what they're charging and not valuing what you can offer and understanding what you need to put money on the table, then you might as well just not be doing it at all. Because why are we doing this? Yes, we all love photography and we love doing what we do, but we're also in it to make a living. And even the hobbyists, I always say to hobbyist photographers, if you had to lose your job tomorrow, can your photography business cover what you need it to? And if the answer is no, but you one day want it to, then that's what you need to start working towards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a rising tide also lifts all ships. And that's another one of my mentor's favorite quotes. So the more we lift the whole industry, then the easier it is for everyone.
Absolutely. You know, if you teach people that are starting out, you know, the whole industry becomes more credible, more trustworthy. You don't have the fly-by-nights that, you know, if they are charging too little, eventually they can't make it. But what they're doing is they're taking deposits and they're just leaving people, you know, behind. But just a point on what you were saying, comparing yourself to other people, you know, you may be comparing yourself to someone who stays in their childhood bedroom. They don't have to pay for anything, so they have no costs. They literally just go out and shoot, and maybe the camera was a gift as well. So it's impossible. You literally have to go through a spreadsheet of your costs and put them in accurately and see where you are. And you know, I think a lot of people, I know Andrew Averly was mentioning it. A lot of people are like completely blown away when they see what they actually have to pay versus what's coming in.
It's frightening. And where I also think, I mean, I saw it when I was working for Gallo, and I mean, we were Getty Images' official licensee in South Africa, and it was nothing for us to sell images for 10, 20, 30,000 rand per image for advertising and commercial licenses. But gradually you start seeing all the big guys pushing the little guys, more discount, more discount, more discounts, and everyone's undercutting everyone else. And it's the same with us shooting on a personal capacity as well. And it's a very fine line between that sort of, I want to offer my clients a really good service at a really good price, but I also can't devalue myself. And I think there's one very important thing that South African photographers forget, is that we all pay our subscriptions in US dollars. Our cameras are equivalently priced in US dollars. Our IMAX or whatever you choose to edit on, a lot of the time, if you have high-end specs, you're paying a dollar equivalent rate. Our subscription software, Adobe, all of that is all in dollars. So why shouldn't we be charging equivalent dollar pricing for our services? Because we're running at a loss if we are not taking that into consideration. You know, I mean, it's quite, when you start adding up what you're spending in dollars every month, then you can kind of think, oh, okay, well, now it makes sense. That 350 rand shoot's not even covering my Adobe subscription for the month.
Yeah, exactly. And if your website has got a plugin that's like, let's say it's a form and it pulls in all the data and gives you a spreadsheet that spits out the other side, and that costs you $60 a year, is that something that's on your spreadsheet? You know, it probably isn't, because you don't think about it, and then all of a sudden there's this cost and you go, oh, that's this cost, but then it's gone. You know, there's so many of those things. And as you say, if you could, you know, peg it to sort of dollar, rates, that would be fantastic. But it becomes very, very, very tricky to do that. You know, I mean, I know that the discussion's been had before where, you know, people have said, well, you know, in my small town, this is all they'll pay. Whereas, you know, in Joburg, you've got more sort of leeway. And I kind of do buy into that to a certain degree, because, you know, if you're in a small town, you're not going to get away with the, you know, corporate portrait, you know, that's going to give you a you know, a good couple of grand. It's going to be, you know, yeah, it's not really that kind of market. But then you'll have other people that say, no, well, the bugger that. This is what it costs.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay that, then so be it. And I mean, I from time to time, I'm a little cocky like that. You know, well,
yeah,
that's what it is. You know, I mean, this is, but I know that the target market that I have can sustain that. And I think that's also something to bear in mind, that you can't, if you're undercharging, well, then people are just taking advantage of you, and you're never going to move up, because once you move up, your target audience is expecting to pay less.
Yeah.
So they're not going to pay you the higher rate. They're just going to go to someone else who's paying the cheaper rate, you know? So it's, there's a lot of variables, but at the end of the day, you just got to make sure that you've got all those expenses covered. And if you can charge a premium, then absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So the small town thing is a bit of a tricky one, and I've heard it often myself as well. But it's also, why are people telling you that they won't pay those prices? Is it because everyone's doing it? And what can you offer the client that is so different and so unique and so above average that they are going to want to pay the extra? Because if you're offering them an equal exchange of value, there's no reason why you shouldn't be attracting those clients. And even small towns have those, I wouldn't say high income earners, but there is a higher target market. So it's just a case of, well, what can I offer that is different or unique, or your level of service, and keep pushing for those prices, because the more of us who increase, the
Everyone
easier
benefits.
it is to say, okay, well, this is the industry standard now.
Yeah.
So
and I think it's also important to sort of understand the difference between selling value versus selling a picture, because a picture is what's a do they still print jumbos? That's, I don't know, like one. So, but this costs.
No, it's more expensive than that now.
Oh, geez, showing my age. Let's make it $10. So anyway, the picture, this thing costs $10. Why are you charging me 3,000 Rand for whatever? You know what I mean? But it's again, it's about deciding that you're not going to. It's not on price; it's on value, and making sure that the value is obvious, and you're educating your clients about that value, and they look at you and they go, well, that makes a lot of sense. Where I'm just getting a picture from you. That also is, but it's again, it comes back down to the running it as a business, and not just as a click, shoot, burn, done.
Yeah.
And
you know what? It's really hard, and I still struggle with this. It's very hard to not be emotionally attached to what you're doing, and because I'm a huge people pleaser. Like, I'm the first person that if someone asks me something, I'll be like, yes, I'll give you a discount. And meanwhile, I'm like, no, you're not going to give them a discount. You're going to charge them your full price. And because it is hard. And a lot of us, like, we want to help people, and we want to give them what we can, but at whose expense at the end of the day? We're the ones who are going to struggle to make an income, have consistent business. I made a decision quite a while ago that I'd rather offer more for more than offer a discount. So I'd rather keep my price the same and maybe say, okay, like I've got a Father's Day special running at the moment, perfect example. So whereas they would pay for 30 images, I'm gifting them another 20 images as part of the package, but they've still got to pay full price. Yeah. They're just getting extra rather than giving a discount, because discounts cheapen. If you add more value, people are thinking, oh, this is actually worth XYZ, but I'm paying this for it. Yeah. It's the same reason I don't do free shoots. If I do anything, I say, this is the value of what you're getting in exchange for you being in my portfolio or whatever. So it's always like, this shoot is worth 2,500 Rand. This is what you're getting in exchange, so that there's always a monetary association with what I'm offering.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm quite happy to do trade exchanges. So I'll take a photo of your tractor. You give me a John Deere, combine harvester. maybe not a fair trade
Yeah,
exchange.
I can see you rocking up to your next shoot in a combine harvester.
Dude,
I will pay you good money to see that.
if I could drive a John Deere combine harvester every day of my life, I would be in heaven. I'm telling you now. But that's another story entirely. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. And you know, like, there's nothing wrong with trade exchange, but again, and we're both part of a business networking organization. Yeah. I'm sure there are a couple of other guys who are in the groups who have some form of sort of engaging with a networking group. There's nothing wrong with a trade exchange if the trade is of equal value. So again, you know, I have a lot of people approaching me and be like, can we swap this for that? But I don't necessarily need what you have to offer me. So for me, it's not going to be beneficial unless I really want you in my portfolio for XYZ reasons. So the whole like exposure doesn't pay the bills, it really does not pay the bills. And if you are going to do a trade exchange, that's one of the things to keep in mind. Like, really have a look at what am I going to get out of this as well, because it, you know, then you're just working for the sake of working.
Yeah, and the thing is also that if it doesn't work for you, you've got to then bear in mind that your next shoot with these people, the expectation is going to be the same thing. So, you know, basically you've now built a client for free. You know, every time they come to you, listen, we're a water company. We'll give you water for a year. You know what I mean? So it's and they think it's great because their product is so valuable to them, but for you, it's really not working. And those sort of working for exposure things are, you know, there's a time and a place. If you really want to have a John Deere combine harvester in your portfolio, by all means, do it. And in fact, I would do it for free. But yeah, you got to think about it, because it's you know, it's literally going to be a one-shot wonder unless you can attract other people or other clients with that image that don't know that you did it for free.
And that's also you know, same thing with pitching and even if I do shoots for my own portfolio where I've called a model in and I've explained the value, what I'll often do is actually send them a voucher with that value, so that if they do talk about it with their friends, it'll be a case of, okay, well, this was what I got a voucher for. So their friends are seeing that, hang on, this has a monetary value associated with it. It wasn't just a free shoot.
Yeah.
So, and then they sort of start talking about it in a bit of a different way, rather than like, okay, well, like then you have like 20 people knocking on your door saying, can I have a free shoot too?
Exactly. And you become that guy or that girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be known as, and in fact, it was quite a liberating thing to learn how to say to a client, if someone comes to me and they say, geez, you're expensive, I say, thank you. I say, I'd like to be known as expensive because I believe that I can deliver the service that backs up the price that I'm charging. And, you know, expensive isn't something to be feared. If you're going to put yourself into that bracket, then just make sure that you can deliver on it. And I'm happy to be expensive. I don't want to be seen as cheap. I kind of, as much as I love the thought behind it, I die a little inside when my friends tag me on Facebook with we're looking for a photographer that doesn't charge an arm and a leg, because okay, well, maybe a kidney's worth of photography is what I'll charge, but you know, I don't want to be in the cheap category.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the service I deliver. So but that's, if you are comfortable with going after that market, then pick that and be successful at it. If you know that that's your target demographic, you're not my competition, because your demographic is not my demographic. We're not marketing to the same clients.
Exactly. And I think it's important that, you know, you have to value yourself, you know, because then that sort of self-respect also translates into that client relationship where, you know, you've already said, sorry, no, you know, I'm not going to be able to do it for that, but I can put you on to other people. You know, they already see that as being, you know, something different to what they've gotten everywhere else. And possibly it doesn't work this time, but next time around, you know, there could be something that really works out well, because they know that, you know, there's obviously like integrity and self-respect, and he wants to do a job properly, and he's not just going to do it willy-nilly, you know. And I mean, that's kind of part of the whole smoke and mirrors thing, you know. You've got to put forward the face of the business that you want to have. You know, you want to come across as being professional and trustworthy and whatever, but you know what? This costs. You know, if you just, you know, a couple of $100, I don't know, might not get you the shot. You know, you might do the shoot and the camera breaks, and then there's excuses for 6 months and etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and it happens on both sides as well.
I mean,
you have to be accountable, and
for sure.
Crazy industry that we're in when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All these things we actually need to take into consideration before we even start picking up our camera.
Well, it's that whole thing of and there's always those pie charts of you know, all the things. So what people think, you know, 90% of the time on a beach in Mauritius with a model. What really happens is, you know, 10% of the time in Mauritius, it's raining. 1%, you know, had to use off-camera flash because there was no sun. And the rest is editing and marketing and etc.
Yeah.
You know,
sounds about right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, editing. Yeah, my favorite. But frankly, like, that's actually another thing to take into consideration as your editing time, you know, because we also think, okay, well, I'm going to go out and do the shoots, and then, okay, awesome, and I've got like 5 shoots booked on the weekend, and you've got to edit them all. And if you're editing, unless you're outsourcing it, you're not shooting in the time that you're editing. So that's another factor to take into consideration, is physically how much time do I have available? If it usually takes me 3 hours to edit a 1-hour shoot, what's my time like for everything else I need to do in my life as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that comes down to making sure that your workflow is sorted out. Do you have to spend 10 minutes on something that it's not going to hang in a gallery? You know, it's part of 200 other images from that particular, you know, event or whatever. It's not the person who's the main focus of that event. You know, it's obviously all the photos are important, but you've got to also know where do you put that time, and things like if you take, let's say you take 8 hours in a day, all of those have got to be accounted for and paid for, unless you're sitting watching TV. So as far as I'm concerned, if I go, let's say it's a commercial shoot, and they want me to come and have a look at the place, and, you know, then we can take it from there. We'll see what we need. I'm charging them from the time I leave the studio till I get back. This is the hourly rate. I'll talk to you for as long as you want to. It's not a problem. But you're paying for that time.
You're paying for it, 100%.
And the same thing needs to happen with everything that you do. And I think that's one thing that people are a little bit nervous of, is insisting on the fact that if I'm working on your project, you need to pay for it. You know, it's not just there's the initial fee, and now you want all these other things, and you're going to get them for free. You know, that's I think it's pretty important to look at that as well.
Yeah, and there are 2 ways of doing it. I mean, when I do my family portrait work, I build those costs into, I mean, I know roughly how much on average I will commit to spending on a client. I will pick the locations generally where we meet, so that I know, okay, it's going to cost me this much, or estimate on the petrol price at the time to drive to wherever for our meeting. I know I'm going to spend this much on coffees, and I can kind of build, I know my makeup artist is going to charge me this much for one face for the shoot. So I build those into my costs.
Yeah.
But if it's a commercial client who I pick up, every job is costed differently depending on what the brief is.
Absolutely.
And I also, I 9 times out of 10 will do pre-shoot consultations with my family portrait clients as well, because I don't want to just, okay, let's rock up in the park, shoot, I'll deliver 2 weeks later and you never hear from me again. Like, I want to build a relationship with you so that I'm your go-to photographer for every kiddie's birthday, the matric dance, the wedding, the whatever.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to get that if the service you're giving is $300.
Yeah.
Because
and
you can't.
But that's part of the value, you know, the fact that you build this relationship is the value that you provide. It's not just 3 o'clock, you guys are 4 minutes late, so sorry, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's all.
And as a client, I've been on the other side of that, and it's crap.
Absolutely.
Like, I think photographers are other photographers' worst clients.
I say nothing. Nothing.
I know I'm horrible on the other side of the camera, and my husband's worse. So the two of us together are like your worst nightmare for a shoot. But and that's a good way of looking at it. Is like, I know I probably wouldn't be able to afford my own services, but I'm okay with that, because I am not my own target market. My own friends are not necessarily my target market. I'm not marketing to them. I've got my niche. And that's who I target, and that's what I go after, and I've built my business around those clients. So think about how you as a client would like to be treated, and if you're okay with just rocking up to the park and being cool, let's shoot, I want my images in 2 weeks and that's it, I want to download a link and I want all 500 photos, then that's cool. Then find a photographer who's going to give you that.
Yeah.
And if you are that photographer offering that service, then that's what you're offering.
Absolutely. But I think for the majority of people, they don't want that. They want to be schmoozed and have the coffee.
They think they want that.
No, they do want that. I want that. I want to be schmoozed. I want someone to hand me a coffie whenever I've, you know, but the thing is.
No, we want to be schmoozed. We don't want 500 photos.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. You know, you want, you know, you're so special. You're an awesome client, etc., etc. But so on the time, we're kind of getting towards the hour. I know we started a bit late. Are there any other things that you want to cover while we've got some time, or do you think
so I'm starting to put together the cost of doing business and cost of goods into a full-on workshop.
Cool.
It is going to be something that's quite different. I think I do have a different approach to other photography business educators, and so obviously it's not launched yet, it's still in the process, so I can keep you guys and the Hunters of Light group up to date as to when that is going to go live. And it really is, I mean, a lot of people teach, like, there are excellent people doing social media marketing and all of that side. I do it for myself, but I do it for me. It's not something I teach. This would purely be on knowing your numbers. So if that is something that people are interested in, it is coming pretty soon. So that was another one of my lockdown projects, was my business course with exactly like running through what to separate as personal and business, and how to run a spreadsheet, how to allocate different things, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So that is coming, and just really about the numbers and feeling comfortable with, and admittedly, the first time I did it, I was terrified. And I sometimes, I mean, as I said, I update mine 6 months at least annually, but often I'll do it every quarter. And I'm this weird character where I'm both very right brain and very left brain oriented. I love numbers and I love figures and I love spreadsheets, which for a photographer is very rare.
Yeah, I'm glazing over here.
but that was one thing that sort of has always pushed me to do better. So when I closed off at the end of last year, my business was up 136% year on year, which for a business that's only 3 years old in a really tough South African market, it's not bad going. And when COVID hit and we all shut down at the end of March, I closed off my first quarter 30% up this year as against last year. And I want to be able to teach people, like, this is, you know, there's no point in thinking, oh, great, I'm doing so well and I'm earning a profit, if you're not comparing to last month, last quarter, last year, etc. So that will be part of the course as well.
No, that's very cool. So when you've got those details, please send the links and that through.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I will get to eventually is on the website. At the moment, we've got the contributors, so the presentations, the Q&As, etc.
Yeah.
But I also want to have a page that's got the presenter workshops and things like that.
Oh,
so that you guys can, you've given me your time and your energy. I want to give you the opportunity to make a little bit out of that and put those on there. So it is coming, but fortunately yours isn't ready yet, so I'm okay. But
we'll push ourselves to be accountable.
Yes, oh my word. No. That's a different meeting.
Yeah, totally.
but please send it through, because I want to put it on there, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of the guys that are watching this will be very, very interested in, and maybe because part of the process is also putting together that the sort of legal framework, terms and conditions, and privacy and whatever.
Yeah.
There might be an option, to put together a package where we've got a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that, and we can put a whole bundle together. But let's kind of see how it goes. But I know that there's a lot of people that are interested in the business side of things and knowing how they should be charging. I think it's very important. So thank you very much.
Cool, my pleasure. Yeah, well, I think that's it. I hope I haven't bored everyone with all the numbers talk.
No, it's it's important. I think it really is an important part of it. The creatives we're all creative, and we just want to shoot and edit and etc. But the fact of the matter is that we can only do that if we're earning enough to make it sustainable. Absolutely. And if we all start looking at those figures and the percentages, then everyone's prices will come up, because everyone is then charging what they should be charging, and then everyone wins. So I think it was fantastic. It was great to have you on board.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for hosting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So as you know, this is recorded. I'll just pop it on now. We'll edit out all the parts that we weren't entirely happy with, like this, the beginning, and there were lots of parts in the middle, and probably this part here. I'll pop it up on the group, and then there'll be I'm pretty sure there'll be some comments in that if you want to go on there and answer some questions. I'm sure people have got.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Leigh. Appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.
Cheers, everybody. By the time you get around to watching this.
Yes, we'll be on our second coffee somewhere else, which someone else is paying for.
Or maybe the wine that someone else is paying for.
Yeah, I'll have the gin. Okay. Cheers.
Awesome. I'm with you on the gin. Cheers, Quinton.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.